What happens to your kidneys and brain when you take creatine? Let's cut the noise and get the truth. So, you've heard the talk in the gym, maybe seen it online. People call creatine a magic powder that makes you stronger, but others whisper it will wreck your kidneys. Is it a game changer or a health risk? Answers get tangled in myths and half-truths. We're going to untangle that with the science. First, what is creatine? Your body produces it naturally. It's made from amino acids. Its main job, recycle energy in your cells, especially in muscles and in the brain. Think of it like a tiny, super-fast charging pack for ATP. When you do something explosive, lifting a heavy weight or sprinting, your body burns ATP fast. Creatine quickly replenishes that supply. Alright, let's tackle the biggest myth head-on, the one you've almost certainly heard whispered in a gym locker room, seen in a sensationalist headline, or read in a concerned comment online. It's the persistent, pervasive, and frankly stubborn idea that creatine supplementation will destroy your kidneys. This rumor has been floating around for decades, and its resilience is truly remarkable, surviving wave after wave of scientific evidence to the contrary. It's a classic piece of bro science that has managed to seep into the mainstream consciousness, causing unnecessary fear and confusion for countless people just trying to improve their health and performance. This single idea has likely stopped more people from trying a safe and effective supplement than any other. But where did this powerful and misleading myth actually come from? How did it get started? The origin seems to trace back to some old, isolated case studies, most notably one from the late 90s. This report detailed the case of an individual who experienced kidney issues while also taking creatine. On the surface, it seemed like a smoking gun. However, the crucial detail that often gets left out of the story is that this person already had pre-existing kidney disease. They weren't a healthy individual to begin with. This single instance, published in a medical journal, created a link in people's minds. It was a case of 1 + 1 = a problem. The media and word of mouth did the rest, and the myth took on a life of its own, spreading far faster than the scientific nuance. It's a classic case of correlation being mistaken for causation, where one specific situation gets blown up into a universal warning without the proper context or scientific rigor to back it up. Just because two things happen at the same time doesn't mean one caused the other. But the confusion goes even deeper, and it has to do with how we measure kidney health in the first place. This is where things get a little technical, but it's the key to truly understanding why this myth won't die. To understand why this myth persists, we need to talk about a substance called creatinine. Creatinine, with an extra inine, is a natural waste product. It's not a harmful toxin, but simply a byproduct of normal muscle function. Your muscles produce it when they break down creatine phosphate for energy. The more muscle you have, and the more you use it, the more creatinine you naturally produce. Your kidneys then filter this creatinine out of your blood and excrete it through urine. It's a routine cleanup job they perform 24/7. Because it's produced and cleared at a fairly steady rate, doctors use blood creatinine levels as a proxy, an indirect marker, to estimate kidney function. A high level can sometimes indicate that the kidneys aren't filtering waste efficiently, causing it to build up in the blood. And here is the critical point. When you supplement with creatine, you increase the total amount of creatine in your muscles. That's the whole point of taking it. As a direct result, you will naturally produce and break down a little more creatinine. More raw material in means slightly more byproduct out. This can cause a slight, and entirely harmless elevation in your blood creatinine levels. It's a predictable and benign physiological response. This elevation isn't a sign of kidney damage or dysfunction. It's not an indicator of strain or injury. It's simply a mathematical consequence of having more creatine in your system. Think of it like this. If you put more cars on the highway, you'll see more exhaust. But it doesn't mean the highway is broken. Your kidneys are working just fine. There's just a bit more of this specific waste product for them to filter, which they do without any issue. They are more than equipped to handle this minor increase in workload. However, a healthcare provider who isn't familiar with sports nutrition might see this slightly elevated number on a lab report and, following standard protocol, flag it as a potential kidney problem, inadvertently perpetuating the myth. This is why it's so important to inform your doctor about any supplements you're taking. So, what does the mountain of modern, high-quality research say when we look past this confusion and the outdated case reports? Well, study after study on healthy individuals has come to a very different and very clear conclusion. The scientific community has investigated this question extensively. Researchers have looked at people taking standard doses of creatine for weeks, months, and in some studies, even for years, meticulously tracking their kidney health. For example, a landmark 5-year study on former football players found no negative effects on kidney function whatsoever. These were individuals who had used it for a significant portion of their athletic careers. Another long-term trial followed collegiate athletes for 21 months and also reported no adverse effects on markers of kidney health, even during intense training periods. The list goes on and on, encompassing hundreds of peer-reviewed papers. The overwhelming consensus from these extensive studies is that creatine supplementation does not cause kidney damage or dysfunction in people who have healthy, functioning kidneys to begin with. In these studies, they've measured all the key markers of kidney health, not just creatinine, to get the full picture. They look at things like glomerular filtration rate, or GFR, and other more direct measures of renal function like cystatin C, which aren't affected by muscle mass or creatine intake. And, across the board, these more sophisticated markers stay normal and stable, confirming the kidneys are healthy. The International Society of Sports Nutrition, after reviewing hundreds of studies, has stated unequivocally that creatine is safe and that the rumors of kidney damage are unfounded for healthy individuals. It's one of the most reassuring findings in all of sports nutrition science. The evidence is not ambiguous. It is definitive. For a supplement with such profound performance benefits, its safety profile is exceptionally strong, having been scrutinized more than almost any other sports supplement on the market. So, the next time you hear someone claim that creatine is bad for your kidneys, you can be confident that the vast body of scientific evidence tells a very different and much more reassuring story. Now let's address one of the most persistent myths surrounding creatine, the idea that it's harmful to your kidneys. This is a critical topic, and the confusion is understandable, but it's rooted in a misunderstanding of how our bodies work and how doctors measure kidney health. It's a rumor that has likely made many people hesitant to try one of the most researched supplements available. Here's where the confusion often comes from. When you go to the doctor for a routine checkup, they might run a blood panel to test for something called creatinine. This is a standard part of most metabolic panels. Creatine, the supplement we take, is used by our muscles for energy. When it's broken down in your body, as part of this natural metabolic process, it becomes a waste product called creatinine. This creatinine is then transported through your bloodstream to your kidneys, which act as your body's sophisticated filtration system. Their job is to constantly clean your blood, and this creatinine is one of the many substances they filter out into your urine to be expelled. Under normal circumstances, your body produces creatinine at a fairly constant rate, proportional to your muscle mass. Someone with more muscle will naturally have slightly higher baseline levels. Because of this stability, doctors use creatinine levels as an indirect indicator, or a proxy, for how well your kidneys are filtering your blood. If your creatinine is high, it can be a sign that the kidneys aren't clearing waste effectively, which might point to underlying kidney problems. It suggests the filters might be clogged, so to speak. However, here's the crucial part. If you're supplementing with creatine, you are deliberately increasing the amount of creatine in your system. You're naturally going to have more of it to break down, which in turn produces more creatinine. This can slightly and predictably elevate your creatinine levels in a blood test. It's a simple equation: more creatine in, more creatinine out. This is essentially a false positive for kidney damage. The elevated number isn't a sign of kidney strain or damage. It's simply a direct and harmless reflection of what you're consuming. Your kidneys are functioning perfectly fine. They just have a bit more of this specific waste product to clear, which they do efficiently. Think of it as more cars on a perfectly functioning highway. It doesn't mean the highway is broken. The key takeaway here is about context. If you supplement with creatine, it's wise to inform your doctor before any blood work, so they can interpret your results accurately. For extra peace of mind, they can order a test called cystatin C, an alternative marker for kidney function that isn't influenced by muscle mass or creatine intake. For the vast majority of the healthy adult population, the evidence from decades of research is overwhelmingly clear. creatine is safe for your kidneys. The International Society of Sports Nutrition, a major authority in this field, has stated clearly that there's no compelling scientific evidence that creatine supplementation, whether short or long-term, harms kidney function in healthy people. This conclusion is backed by numerous studies, some lasting up to 5 years, showing no adverse effects. However, the story changes entirely if you already have a known, pre-existing kidney condition. In that case, your kidney's filtering capacity is already compromised. Adding any extra workload, even from a generally safe supplement like creatine, is not advisable without strict medical supervision from a specialist. You should absolutely not take any new supplement, including creatine, without talking to your doctor or nephrologist first. The same caution applies to pregnant or breastfeeding individuals, as research in these groups is limited. Now, beyond the muscles and myths, an exciting and growing area of research is exploring creatine's benefits for the brain. Just like your muscles, your brain is an incredibly energy-hungry organ that relies on a constant supply of ATP, and just like in your muscles, creatine plays a vital role in rapidly recycling that energy, keeping your neurons firing on all cylinders. Research suggests that creatine supplementation can enhance cognitive function, particularly in situations where the brain is under stress. This includes tasks requiring short-term memory, reasoning, and mental flexibility. The benefits appear most pronounced during challenging conditions, like sleep deprivation or when performing complex mental tasks that quickly deplete the brain's energy reserves. It essentially provides a bigger fuel tank for your brain to draw from when the going gets tough. Furthermore, there's promising preliminary evidence for creatine's role in neuroprotection. Studies are investigating its potential to help mitigate the effects of traumatic brain injuries, TBI, and support brain health in certain neurological conditions. While this research is still in its early stages and is by no means a treatment, it highlights creatine's fundamental importance to cellular energy across the entire body, not just in the gym. It's a fascinating frontier that could redefine how we view this simple yet powerful molecule, expanding its application far beyond athletic performance into the realm of everyday cognitive health and resilience. When we hear the word creatine, our minds almost universally jump to the world of fitness. We picture it as a muscle supplement, a powerful tool exclusively for athletes and bodybuilders looking to gain that extra edge in strength and size. But what if I told you its benefits extend far beyond the gym, reaching into the most complex, energy-demanding, and vital organ in your body? What if this gym staple was also a powerful brain booster? Your brain is an incredibly energy-hungry organ, a biological supercomputer that never truly sleeps. It accounts for a staggering 20% of your body's total energy consumption, even though it's only about 2% of your body weight. To put that in perspective, imagine a single, small appliance in your home, like a coffee maker, being responsible for a fifth of your entire electricity bill. That's the kind of relentless power your brain demands every second of every day, whether you're awake or asleep. This immense energy is needed to fuel the constant, silent work of billions of neurons firing, maintaining delicate electrochemical balances like the sodium-potassium pump, and synthesizing the neurotransmitters that govern our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Just like your muscles during a heavy lift, your brain uses that same universal energy currency, adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. It's the gasoline for your cognitive engine. It burns through ATP for everything it does, forming thoughts, storing memories, processing sensory information, and solving complex problems. Every single cognitive function, from recognizing a face to composing a sentence, has a significant metabolic cost. And this is where our story comes full circle. Just like in your muscles, creatine plays a vital role in rapidly regenerating that energy supply within brain cells. The brain has its own phosphocreatine system, a high-speed energy buffer designed for moments of intense demand. When a region of your brain is working hard, say you're trying to solve a difficult puzzle or learn a new skill, it rapidly depletes its local ATP stores. Before the cell can falter, phosphocreatine steps in, instantly donating its phosphate group to regenerate ATP, ensuring your neurons don't run out of fuel mid-thought. It's the brain's immediate backup generator. This rapid recycling process is absolutely crucial for maintaining cognitive function under pressure and sustaining mental effort over time. This parallel mechanism has led scientists to ask a logical and fascinating question. If supplementing with creatine helps muscles perform better under the physical stress of exercise, could it do the same for the brain under mental stress? Could a simple, well-known supplement make us think faster, remember more, and resist the pervasive drain of mental fatigue? The research in this area is newer and not as extensive as the decades of muscle research, but the early findings are incredibly promising and point towards a resounding yes. Using advanced imaging techniques like magnetic resonance spectroscopy, scientists have found that oral creatine supplementation can increase the concentration of creatine in the brain, though to a lesser extent than in muscle due to the blood-brain barrier. This small increase, however, appears to be enough to make a meaningful difference, effectively topping off the brain's energy reserves. Multiple studies show that creatine supplementation can improve cognitive performance, especially during mentally demanding tasks or when the brain is compromised in some way. These are situations where the brain's energy demands outstrip its immediate supply, creating a metabolic challenge that can lead to slower thinking and mental fog. For example, when people are sleep-deprived, a condition that severely impairs cognitive function by disrupting brain energy metabolism, creatine has been shown to have a restorative effect. In studies, sleep-deprived individuals taking creatine performed better on tests of executive function, reaction time, and even reported better mood compared to a placebo group. Similarly, when subjects perform complex calculations or intense memory recall tasks, those taking creatine have shown better short-term memory and faster reasoning skills. The effect seems most pronounced when the brain is pushed to its limits, when it's operating at peak capacity. It seems to act as a buffer against mental fatigue, allowing you to sustain high-level cognitive performance for longer. Think of it like a reserve power tank for your brain. It's an extra energy source that your mind can tap into when the primary fuel line is running low. When you're well rested and your cognitive load is light, you may not notice a dramatic difference, as your brain's baseline energy production is sufficient. But when you're pulling an all-nighter, facing a high-pressure exam, or juggling multiple complex projects, that extra energy reserve can be the key to helping you maintain focus and clarity for longer. The potential benefits might not stop at simply enhancing performance in healthy brains under stress. Some of the most exciting and forward-looking research is exploring creatine's potential as a neuroprotective agent. Researchers are exploring creatine's role in more serious neurological conditions where brain cells are under constant and severe stress. Many of these conditions, from acute injuries like concussions to chronic neurodegenerative diseases, share a common feature: a crisis of cellular energy where mitochondria can't keep up with demand. Preliminary evidence suggests neuroprotective effects, possibly helping support brain health in cases like traumatic brain injuries or neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Huntington's. In animal models of traumatic brain injury, for instance, pre-treatment with creatine has been shown to reduce the extent of brain damage by up to 50%, a truly remarkable finding. The idea is straightforward but powerful. By providing more energy to stressed brain cells, creatine might help them survive and function better in the face of adversity. When a cell is injured or metabolically stressed, it struggles to maintain its basic functions, like regulating ion flow and repairing itself. This energy deficit can trigger a destructive cascade of events, a process known as apoptosis or programmed cell death. By bolstering the cell's energy reserves, creatine may act like a shield, helping it weather the storm, maintain its integrity, and resist that damaging cascade. Again, it is absolutely crucial to emphasize this is not a proven cure or treatment for these complex conditions. This is not a magic bullet. Human trials have yielded mixed results, and much more work is needed to understand the nuances of dosage, timing, and which populations might benefit. But it represents an exciting frontier of research with big potential, exploring a safe, affordable, and widely available compound's ability to protect our most precious organ. So, with all this in mind, how does one use creatine smartly for cognitive benefits? What's the practical takeaway? First and foremost, it's important to keep this in perspective and manage expectations. The evidence for cognitive benefits, while promising, isn't as solid or extensive as it is for physical performance. We're talking about decades versus years of research. The effects can be more subtle and are most apparent under conditions of stress, like sleep deprivation or intense mental exertion. It's a performance enhancer, not a miracle intelligence pill. The standard dose used in most cognitive studies is the same as for muscle. A daily maintenance dose of 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. This is the most studied and cost-effective form. There's no need for a loading phase for brain benefits. Consistent daily use is what builds up and maintains cerebral creatine levels over time. Patience and consistency are key. As with any use, staying well hydrated is key. Creatine draws water into cells, so be sure to drink plenty of fluids throughout the day to support its function and your overall health. And while creatine is one of the safest and most researched supplements available for healthy individuals, it's not for everyone. People with pre-existing kidney conditions should avoid it, as their kidneys may have difficulty clearing its byproduct, creatinine. Its use hasn't been sufficiently studied in pregnant or breastfeeding women, so as a precaution, it should be avoided there as well. The bottom line is that the cognitive enhancing potential of creatine is a rapidly evolving field of neuroscience. Many studies are small, and more large-scale human trials are needed to confirm the effects and identify who benefits most and under what specific circumstances. But for those looking for a mental edge during demanding periods, or simply interested in supporting long-term brain health as part of a healthy lifestyle, creatine presents a compelling, low-risk option backed by a plausible biological mechanism and a growing body of evidence. As always, the smartest first step is a conversation with your doctor or a qualified healthcare professional to see if it's a suitable and safe option for you. So, if you're considering trying creatine, how do you do it safely and effectively? The most common and studied approach involves a loading phase. This is where you take a higher dose for a short period to quickly saturate your muscles. A typical loading protocol is to take about 20 grams per day, split into 4 5-gram servings for about 5 to 7 days. This gets your levels up fast. After that initial week, you drop down to a maintenance phase where you take a smaller daily dose of 3 to 5 grams. You don't have to do the loading phase, it's optional. Or, start with the maintenance dose of 3 to 5 grams from day 1. It will just take a bit longer, maybe 3 to 4 weeks, but you'll reach the same muscle saturation in the end. Loading can cause minor stomach discomfort or bloating for some people. The key is consistency. Pick a method and stick with it daily. When shopping, you'll see lots of fancy forms claiming superiority. Choose creatine monohydrate. It's the most studied, the most proven, and usually the cheapest.